No delay, let's jump right into it. Little Coltrane action figure. Can't always just be one thing with movies. Graphics look super. Yes. Oh, love it. Love it. Okay, so, little backstory. A lot of people know I love Superman. If there's a game franchise that I love as much as I love Superman, it's Gears of War. Uh, what's super funny about Gears is before Gears, never really played a game like this. I've never been into, except for GoldenEye, I've never really been into shooters. Like, I was playing, Batman games and wrestling games and Skate, but really wasn't into these kind of games. And long, long time ago, I had a roommate who had just gotten a 360. He's like, "Hey man, I'm bored. Let's go to Walmart and let's go through their cheap games. Let's get a game you and I can play." I said, "Sure, no big deal. Even if we don't find something we both play, I can just watch you play. It's all good." So we go to Walmart and I find this boxing game called Facebreaker, and I'm like, "Dude, we should totally get this." And my buddy turns around and he shows me this cover, and it's a dude with a chainsaw gun. I was like, "Ah, that looks cool, but this Facebreaker game, this looks awesome." He's like, "No, dude." He goes, "I really want to get this." He goes, "I'll get it if you're not into it. The next time you're off, I'll come up here and I promise you we'll get a game we can both play." I said, "Sure, whatever. No big deal." So we get home, he fires it up, he starts playing, and I was like, "It looks cool." He goes, "You sure you don't want to play?" I said, "Nah, I'll sit here and watch it, man. It's just not my thing." Well, he ends up needing to go to the bathroom. He goes, "Hey man, here, just play it while I'm in the bathroom." I was like, "Alright." He showed me what to do, showed me all the buttons and stuff. I said, "Okay, cool." So I start playing, and it's the very first, like, right after you break Marcus out of the jail cell, right? Right after that big cutscene. Um, and I noticed this bloody, I didn't know what it was called at the time. It was like a cog wheel with a skull in it, the Crimson Omen. I walk over to it and I was like, "Oh, there's something shiny here. I can pick it up." And that was the first time I picked up a set of cog tags. Uh, I was like, "Okay, that's kind of neat." And the next thing I know is it's a big fight with the locusts, and I'm like, "Okay." And I rev up the chainsaw, and the very first time that I put a chainsaw through a grub, I was hooked on this. We learned from there that like 4 months later, Gears 2 was coming out. So I'm like, boom, pre-order. But going back to Gears 1, once I got into it, my buddy and I, we played through every difficulty together. Played through all of them together and alone. So we went through singles campaign through all the difficulties too. So pre-ordered 2, been hooked ever since. We have the comics, we have all the games, we have most of the books, and seeing this, because I did watch it before. Okay, I'm not gonna lie to you. I did watch this before, but it's giving me chills every single time I watch it, and I love the fact that they took it back to kind of where Judgment was. I know a lot of people didn't like Judgment. I thought there were some cool things about Judgment, but I was a little disappointed in that one. But it feels like it's right on Emergence-Day, probably why it's called E-Day. And my first thought was, in the 5th game, we went back to the Pendulum Wars when they were going to steal the plans for the Hammer of Dawn. And I said, what would be super cool is if we went back like that again. Because the one problem that I've always had with the games is they didn't even put them in as multiplayer, right? The games have never had Carlos Santiago, who was Dom's older brother, and a big part of the books. The books are amazing. I suggest anyone, if you're a fan of this, you should definitely get them. Even if you're not a fan, they're just really good books. Not only Carlos, but the Pasanga people. I think Tak or Tak from the Hidebusters campaign that was Hoffman's grandson or nephew. I think he's Pasanga, but I don't remember. These were basically farming folks who they were willing allies of the coalition, right? And these folks were not very big, but they worked out in fields and in the jungles with machetes. Now, let me tell you, if you were the enemy and you were in the jungle and they were going to send a Pasanga after you, you might as well just sit there and wait for death. These folks were silent. You could never hear them coming. They didn't carry guns. They just used machetes. And I would love to see something to that effect in this game. Where, you could play as a Pasanga or something. I'm not exactly sure what they're going to do with the game. I heard it's going to be open world. It's going to be this. It's going to be that. We don't know anything yet, really. But the trailer doesn't give too much away other than the fact that the graphics on this look amazing. These characters are starting to look like people. Okay, I know we're supposed to finally, I think, Netflix picked up the rights. We're supposed to be getting a Gears of War movie. I've said many times before, what they need to do is a 6 to 8 episode, kind of telling backstory, let you get used to the characters, and then do a Netflix movie, followed by another season, and then another, something like that. We don't know what they're going to do. We don't even know if Horde's going to be in this. Because this looks like before we get the Mark, I think it's the Mark II Lancer, where they add the chainsaw. Basically, I'm trying to keep this as short as I can because I know it's just a trailer reaction, but I just wanted to talk about this because I love this universe, I love this game. Basically what happened was they start out with the bayonet, right? Well, sometimes the bayonets break because Locust skin is super tough. So in the books, Marcus talks to his dad about, I think he ends up killing one of them with a chainsaw. He just grabs a chainsaw in a store and kills one. He talks to his dad about maybe implementing that into the Lancers. So I think Adam Fenix and Marcus are kind of the first people to talk about building a Lancer that way. But anyway, I don't know where they're going to go with this, and I'm excited by that. It really looks like we're probably going to get back to the horror roots of the game. Not just action, because it was a horror action game. Super excited for it. I'm going to start saving up for the new Xbox, because I think it's only on the newer Xbox XS's or whatever they are. But do yourself a favor. If this trailer intrigued you at all, and you have an Xbox, because I believe these are going to stay Xbox exclusive. It's always been Xbox exclusive. I think it's going to stay that way. Do yourself a favor, get Game Pass, and find these games. They are so fun. I got most of my friends into playing Gears. In fact, mutual friends of mine and Jenna, before I even met Jenna, were playing this game because I had introduced them to the game. So Jenna played this game before she even met me. But her, I, and Sean, and another buddy Andrew, we get together when we can and play Gears. We haven't in a while, but this game is so fun. I have a better percentage of getting people to get into Gears than I do Superman, and I'm okay with that. But love this game. If this looks cool to you, get Game Pass. At least try the first one. You don't have to mess with the multiplayer. Just go through the story, because the story is so good. And the books kind of fill in before, during, and after on a lot of the games. And the comics are great too. But I've rambled on long enough. If you stuck around this far, I appreciate you so much for watching. Man, I can't wait until this game comes out. I hope all of you have an awesome week, and I'll catch you in the next one. Later.